Welcome back to our Newslink Indiana COVID-19 special, The Pandemic 1 Year Later. I'm Blake Dahlier. Now, one would be hard-pressed to find any industry not impacted by the coronavirus, but sports have arguably been the hardest hit. And the day it all shut down, all started in the NBA with what Rudy Gobert thought was an innocent joke. After the Jazz Thunder game, Rudy Gobert touching all the mics during a post-game press conference. Beforehand, he tested negative for strep and the flu, and after, positive for COVID-19. This led all the teams that played the Jazz in the last 10 days to self-quarantine. His teammate, Donovan Mitchell, later tested positive, and ultimately the season would go on a long hiatus. Gobert would go on to post on his social media in French and in English saying he was sorry for those he endangered and hoped his story served as a lesson to others. Gobert and his teammates would all go on to make a full recovery.
And immediately after that news broke, Newslink Indiana had coverage of the fallout of the March Madness tournament. I'm Joey Moore. The day sports shut down is a day I'll never forget. Cancellation after cancellation coming into the newsroom. Let's take a look at the day NCAA March Madness called it quits, and the major leagues that followed shortly after.
Good evening and welcome back to Newslink Indiana. I'm Joey Moore with sports. We won't be seeing any more action this semester as the Mid-American Conference has canceled all athletics for the remainder of the 2019-20 season. The MAC joins the Big Ten, Ivy League, Pac-12, and Big 12 in canceling their athletics for the remainder of the season. MAC teams will not be permitted to hold organized practice until further notice. The NCAA announced this afternoon via Twitter that the annual March Madness basketball tournament has been canceled. The basketball tournament was not the only tournament to be dropped, as the announcement also claimed that all NCAA tournaments and championship events for the winter season have been canceled. The IHSAA still plans to continue. According to Commissioner Bobby Cox, the regional games will be played with only essential personnel, coaches, administrative staff, and immediate family members. Each school will receive 75 tickets in addition to each team's 12 dressed players. As of yesterday, Cox had still planned to hold the tournament in front of fans. Canceling the tournament, which still remains a possibility, Cox claims, could cost the association $500,000. The Mid-American Conference has made the decision to cancel their conference basketball tournaments due to the coronavirus. Along with the MAC, the Big Ten, ACC, SEC, Big 12, and many other conferences have canceled their basketball tournaments. Some conferences made the call just minutes before contests were about to begin, including the Big Ten, who canceled their tournament while players were warming up for the Michigan versus Rutgers game. The Big East canceled their tournament at halftime of the Creighton versus St. John's game. Unfortunately, many major league sports have put an indefinite halt to their seasons due to the coronavirus. The NBA, the NHL, the MLS, and the MLB have all ended their seasons early. NASCAR, the PGA, and IndyCar have chosen to keep operations going, but without spectators. The NFL is still all systems go, however. They have suspended all travel until further notice.
And Blake, if you'll remember, we were both at the desk that night, and if you look back at our banter, you can just tell how disappointed we were.
Oh, I mean, disappointment beyond belief, and easily probably one of the most stressful, if not the most stressful night of my career. Let's go ahead and take a look at that.
And it's really a shame just seeing March Madness and everything canceled. It's
Yeah,
just,
all my
I'm
bracket
speechless.
picks are out the window, but I guess you could say everybody had a perfect bracket this year.
You could.
Indeed, what a night. Truly one that won't slip the memory bank anytime soon.
And finally, the virus that we thought would never reach home became yet another humbling reality. This is no exception here in and around our viewing area. Blackford High School Athletic Director Tony Ugan tested positive for COVID back in late August. He would later go on to have 2 stays at the hospital and spent almost 2 weeks in the intensive care unit. Now, unlike some stories, Ugan made a recovery and is now at 80% of his normal lung function. I sat down with him back in late November to hear about his remarkable comeback story.
Just finished. 5th trip. The front door. It was scary because we didn't know what happened.
September 3rd, 2020, the day Tony Ugan was hospitalized with COVID-19 and eventually going into intensive care.
They'd asked me the one thing nobody wants to hear, do you have a will? You know, and I don't want to say that I was near death, but I was in that range where it was a possibility.
And for his daughter living in Oregon, things made that much more difficult.
The scariest part of everything was when you start getting messages about this is what I would want my funeral to be like, and that's when it was like, okay, this is very serious. You just keep playing back the last time you saw that person again. So I just kept thinking, the last time I saw my dad, like, is that going to be the last time that I see my dad?
Ugin spent 3 weeks here at Ball Memorial Hospital in his first of 2 stays. 11 of those days were spent in the ICU. And if you walked a mere 10 feet to go to the bathroom or get a snack, it would leave him completely exhausted.
I came to the conclusion of that I'm satisfied with what I've accomplished in life, and came to the reality that, you know, I could die, didn't think I would, and I told my wife, I said, I'm not afraid of dying. I've accomplished what I needed to in my life.
But after weeks of isolation, Ugin doing what every patient wants to do, come back home.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And not stopping at that. The next step, going back to work.
We were very happy for him, but reserved in the sense we wanted to make sure he wasn't going to push himself too hard.
You think about life and whatnot, and what you have, and you surely find out who really cares about you.
His family thrilled to have him back.
It's hard to even describe how much my dad means to me and how much he's given me and been there for me.
And next step, one of their favorite pastimes, going on family road trips together. When we return, members of our exec team give us an inside look at covering the pandemic as student journalists. Don't go away.